we are here with the rapid edit. This is step 6. Rapid editing has 2 parts. I would recommend that you do not do this part during the creativity part. I would ask you to separate this by at least 1 creativity block, ideally by a day or 2. Okay. You want to completely mentally disconnect the creativity blurb stuff with the editing stuff. Now, if you want to do a rapid letter, as in you don't really worry about the polish, you don't really about the concepts and the editing, you can take what you've written in the rapid copy method, the first draft, and run it through these 2 things, and it will be usable as a piece of copy, assuming that you made the right assumptions with the research and the objections and stuff like that, right? You're testing that idea as a chunk very rapidly, so you could get something out in 24 hours, right? This is what's important about this. The rapidity of doing it is making it better to do than spending a ton of time refining something. Because if you test 5 ideas a week using this method versus spending 4 weeks on one, you can obviously see how the value compounds very, very rapidly. Okay. Speed is kind of a big deal nowadays. Part 1, the voiceover. You do this separately too, so don't do this one right after the other. The first thing that you're going to do with your rapid copy piece of copy is you are going to read it out loud as if you are presenting it to your avatar, like you're talking to them. You actually, and don't just read it to yourself, speak it out loud. Bonus points if you record yourself speaking it, so you can listen back to your presentation. Okay. That's one way to do it. It'll also tell you how long it is. It'll also tell you kind of where things hitch and where things don't make sense or where you want to explain more. My recommendation is that you record yourself reading it out loud as a voiceover, and then you go back through the recording, pause, change things based on your voiceover. Okay. The reason for this is that even if it's a written piece of content, like this is awesome for audio and visual content, but even if it's written, 99.9% of the people reading your copy, and this is the actual stat, not a bullshit stat, are sub-vocalizing your copy, which means they are speaking your copy in their mind out loud, but in their brain. That's why if you speak it out loud, because you wrote it, you weren't sub-vocalizing when you were writing it, you were writing it. If you speak it out loud, now you know how they're reading it and you know where it gets clunky. One of the fastest ways to edit something. That alone is going to give you a lot of mileage. Then take a break. You can leave it for a day again if you want, and then come back and do the readability test. So the readability test is essentially taking some formatting truisms and applying them to the copy based on the medium. This is more for written content than it is for visual or audio content. The readability test, or the readability formatting for visual or audio content, is often just a very quick edit of pauses and ums in the content. So if you go through a podcast or you go through a webinar, or you go through a YouTube video, you just throw that thing in an editing software and you cut out the pauses, you cut out the ums, you cut out the repetition, and that's it. That's readability for visual or audio content. Readability for written content, use this resource. Again, very cheap resource, the Halbert Copywriting Method Part 3. Just get it. It's a Kindle book. I'm friends with Bond. He's the guy who wrote it, and it's fantastic. I think it's the only book on copy editing for direct response copy that exists. I don't know if that's actually true, but I think it's the only one that I've found that's specifically for direct response copy. He has got a thing that shows you what readability is, but in a nutshell, readability, you can use these different things to essentially make your thing readable. The more narrow, and this is in English. Okay, so I'm not talking about other languages or other ways to write things. I'm talking about like left to right paragraph style content in English specifically. So the more narrow you can make the text, the more readable it is. Okay, so I'll show you an example. This is a page, right? This is just a page of copy. Now, This is a page of copy. What I've noticed here, just by narrowing this, is that there's some big chunks of stuff here. Narrowing makes it easier to read because you're not going like this. You're going quicker. It's easier to go down the page, but also it shows you where your big chunks are, and then you can take chunks out. This is why Facebook newsfeed is so thin. Even if you look at it on like, I mean, I have my newsfeed killed, but hold on, but I can show you. When you look at this big wide screen of my newsfeed, look at that, right? This is just like very narrow on purpose. This is even more narrow when I'm typing. Your phone screen is vertical and narrow for a reason. It's easier to read things vertically, right? And don't even get me started on like having to scroll back and forth on mobile formatting. People are just will not do it. If your formatting breaks on a mobile device, they're just not going to read it. Now, that number one, formatting it vertical is good for verticality, then breaking up chunks so that it's easier to see, and then bolding, underlining, italicizing, ellipses, font changes, and sometimes colors in the text are going to make things more readable or more attention grabbing in general. And you want to have something visually distinctive and different every couple lines. You see, I kind of did this automatically right here, like this bold thing, this font change, these things here, this right here, ellipses, fast stuff, small stuff, italices, bold, a bullet pointed list with underlines and bold. You see, I kind of did it already, but I could make this much more readable, right? And I can even do things like, I can change text to red if I want to, especially with white background. That's why you see a lot of sales letters, white background, black text, red text. And you also see things like highlighters for these exact reasons. Now, this is automatically more readable than it was before. Okay, makes sense? Vertical formatting, take out the chunks, put some text-based formatting in there, and that is the readability test in a nutshell. If you want to get really fancy with it, you can add memes and images in between to break things up, but that kind of requires a little bit of a design mindset. So if you don't want to do that, then don't do it. Always do things that add to the readability, not take away from the readability. Cool. Yep, Ramit Sethi, a lot of Medium articles do this. Twitter threads, Reddit, a lot of style does that. Okay, so right now, I'm going to do this.